Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Sooner Girl Sports Pod. And today's episode is episode 29, and I am interviewing former OU gymnast McKenzie Wofford and Brenna Dowell-Barnes. I hope that you enjoy these two fantastic interviews with these amazing girls. I truly had a great time visiting with them. And if you're someone like me who has attended OU women's gymnastics meets for years, I have taken my niece, my oldest niece is now 19, and then I have a 10-year-old niece as well. And then I have a couple of older adopted nieces in Oklahoma City that I have taken to gymnastics meets for years, literally 15 to 18 years. And I have watched a lot of gymnasts come through the program, and I have loved following these girls as they have graduated out of the program and gone on in their careers and in their lives, especially after starting this podcast. I've been able to connect with a lot of former athletes. And, for gymnasts, usually once they are out of the professional circuit, out of the college life, they've moved on from gymnastics and put that chapter behind them. And so as I talked to Brenna and McKenzie, it was so inspiring and just so much fun visiting with them about where they are now in life and their journeys that got them to where they are today, as well as their gymnastics journeys that led them to OU and all of the awesome accomplishments that both of them accomplished during their time at OU. Also, before I get started with today's episode, I want to give a huge shout out to my friends Todd and Susan Yeager of Marvin's Place Art Gallery in downtown Ardmore, Oklahoma. If you're ever in the area, you should stop by, grab a glass of wine, take a look at some art. They have some amazing jewelry. Todd and Susan are dear friends of mine, supporter of the podcast. I also love to support their business. They have live music in their listening room on Friday evenings from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. If you're in the area looking for something relaxing, chill to do, stop by, grab a glass of wine, check out some acoustic music. You will not be disappointed. I try to get down there as much as I can to hear their guests. I have never been disappointed. There is nothing like this space in a decent radius of where we are in Southern Oklahoma. And so I do encourage you to get out and support them if you are in the area and looking for something along those lines to do. Again, I have heard a lot of artists there in their space, and all of the artists will tell you that there is not a space similar to this style of listening room in close proximity to Ardmore in Southern Oklahoma. So again, shout out to my sweet friends Todd and Susan, who are supporters of the pod. And for more information on their gallery and what they have to offer and their calendar for the listening room, you can check out marvinsplace.gallery. Okay, so on to our first interview on this week's episode with McKenzie Wofford. And McKenzie was born and raised in the Austin area with a little bit of Dallas and Houston sprinkled in. Her gymnastics career started when she was 3 years old, and she started competing competitively at the age of 6. She moved through all the levels pretty quickly and started to compete at the elite level at age 10. While she was in elite for 7 years, she was on the national team and got to compete for Team USA, which was such an honor. She went back to level 10 her senior year to begin focusing on preparing for college. She committed to the University of Oklahoma when she was only a freshman in high school, and it was the easiest decision that she's ever had to make. While she was there, she helped OU win their first 3 national championships in school history in 2014, 2016, and 2017. The friends and memories that she made there are something that she will cherish for the rest of her life. After graduating in 2017, she had scoliosis surgery and completed a year of her master's. During that year, she got to enjoy being a normal student while recovering and volunteering at the Children's Hospital and an elementary school. She then started her career in 2018, and that led her back to her home state of Texas. She's now in the Dallas area, surrounded by some of her closest friends as an account executive at a cybersecurity company. She is surrounded by the best of her family, her mom, dad, and 2 younger brothers, and her faith is something that gets her through life every day. She became a Sooner fan just by walking onto campus, and it was the only school she ever visited because she knew she didn't need to look anywhere else. She would say that her 3 national championships are some of her her favorite Sooner memories because each one that they won had different things that made them her favorite. McKenzie, thank you so much for sharing your story. I truly enjoyed visiting with her. And as you get into our interview, you will hear us talking a little more about our faith and how that has gotten us through life. And we share some similar stories along that. So truly enjoyed this inspirational chat with McKenzie. It was such an interesting story to hear about her scoliosis journey as well. So I hope that you enjoy this awesome interview with the sweet McKenzie Wofford. And you can find her on Instagram at McKenzie Wofford, on Twitter at Kinsey_Wofford, and on TikTok, McKenzie_Wofford, and also on LinkedIn. And I will link all of this in the show notes. So enjoy this interview with McKenzie Wofford. Well, thank you so much for taking the time for me. But just tell me a little bit about your gymnastics journey and where you started and how you ended up at OU and all that fun stuff.
For sure, yeah. So I started gymnastics when I was 3 years old. My parents put me in a bunch of sports, and by the age of 6, my coaches were pretty much like, your daughter's got to choose between anything. So my mom might have been hoping cheerleading, but I went the gymnastics route and just kind of fell in love with it. I was training 40 hours a week by age 10, so moved up pretty quick. Yeah. So I was at the elite level. I did all the levels, which I feel like is kind of rare for gymnasts. They usually skip a few, but really enjoyed it. I think I like the challenge of gymnastics in general, so it just kept it interesting. Yeah, so went to, I lived in Austin and then moved to Houston whenever I was about 11, I think, and trained at Stars Gymnastics there, really kicked off my elite career, and then Dallas after that. I was went to like national team training camp for 7 years, I'd say, of my career, and then was on national team for about, I think 4 of them, competed for USA, all that fun stuff. And then by the time 2012 came, I almost made it to Olympic trials, but God had other plans for me and decided to focus on my JO gymnastics career, focus on college after. I committed to OU as a freshman, actually. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was a baby. It was actually the only school I visited too. I fought my parents about going just because I grew up in Austin, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a big jump there.
Right. I fought going with them, and my dad was like, no, you need to go look at campus. And then I fell in love with it, right whenever I stepped on campus. And then after the visit, I was like, I don't want to visit any other school. OU's the spot for me.
That's awesome.
I'm in love with it. Yeah, and then when I got there, I actually graduated high school a year early, called the coach and asked if that was okay. They said, of course. Oh. Yeah, so 2013, I started everything, and then ended up going through the 4 years there and won 3 out of the 4 national championships. So
that's
a really great experience. Yeah.
I've talked to Brenna Dowell, and she also was talking about getting recruited at a pretty early age and committing at an early age. And that's, I guess, for gymnasts, it's pretty common for them to recruit it earlier than even some other sports. But yeah, and you being from Austin, I really liked the Austin area. I hate to admit that as an Oklahoma girl. Now, I will never step foot on the campus of UT only because I'm afraid I would end up in jail. But they don't have gymnastics, correct? So yeah, that probably helped a little bit with your decision. But
yeah, I am too. Both my brothers went to UT, so
okay. Oh my.
Yeah. I don't know that I would have gone there. I like the home feel of OU. I'm not much. I live in Dallas now, so it sounds like I'm a city girl, but I don't like big areas. The campus is huge at UT. I don't know. I think everything about OU I loved. So
well, that's good. Yeah, like I said, I've never been to the actual campus, but the Austin area is gorgeous. But I tend to not go down that direction too often. But anyway, I'm glad that you loved OU. I always like to hear people's stories of kind of what led them there and what attracted them there. And that's the one thing I hear a lot from a lot of people, regardless of the sport or whatever, is that homey feel and family, and just feeling that connection with the coach or program or whatever they're committing to. So I always like to hear that, of course, as a Sooner girl. But that's awesome. So you have 3 national championships, and it's funny. I've talked to a lot of different athletes, and it's a big deal to win 1 national championship. And even for those who just have one, that's an incredible accomplishment. But so many Sooners that I've talked to, especially softball and gymnastics, obviously, have more than 1. So that's incredible. So tell me, so when you win the first one, that's that's like a whole new level, obviously. So
sure.
how does it compare? Do you feel like you take it for granted as it goes on, or do you feel like you just want it more a second or third time, or how does that kind of compare?
Yeah, I know I guess I was in a unique situation because they had never won before, and that's actually one of the things that attracted me to OU was
Yes.
they haven't won, but they're on the rise, getting second and third, and like
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be a part of the legacy of like it would be so cool to be part of the first team. So obviously that one was very special, but then
Yes.
I know my classes we were all very competitive, pretty hard-headed too, so it
Mm-hmm.
was like we don't want just one, like how cool it'd be to have all four, you know? And each one was special in its own way. Like I remember sophomore year after losing, we were like, I don't ever want not losing. We got third,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But yeah, we were like, we don't want that feeling again. So
Mm-hmm.
all of us really like rallied and got that second one. And then my senior year, I'm like, I'm not going out with a loss. So yeah, so definitely all hit different. I think maybe it could be taken for granted, but for
Mm-hmm.
us, it was always never did. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
I talked to a softball player, and she was part of the 2000 national championship team for softball, which was the first softball championship
Mhm.
and the first national championship for any women's team
Oh wow.
at OU. And so I thought that was really cool. I mean, she's my age, so we were at OU at the same time. But it's cool to look back. I mean, now that's been 5 years ago. It's crazy to think how far women's sports,
Hmm.
especially softball and gymnastics, have come just in the last 25 years, the last 10 to 15 years even. Because softball won in 2000 and then not again until 13, I believe. My point is, like, even the last decade or so for both women's gymnastics and softball has been just like dominance. And I
Hmm.
love it.
Yeah, yeah,
So
for
that's so
sure.
cool that you were a part of that first national championship, and then you got more afterwards. So you went out on top. That has to
I
be
did.
an
I
awesome
did.
feeling. That's a
Yeah.
good feeling.
It was awesome. The women's sport rise is cool too, because like I came from, like I said, the elite gymnastics. It was so serious and like
Yes.
you didn't really, it wasn't team. And like once I got to college, I was like,
Yes.
I love this. Like you want each other to do good. You're doing it for other people, not just yourself. And the way
Yes.
it's blown up too. I mean, people are watching it all over now, so it's cool to see that.
Absolutely. I've talked about this with others as well, but that team feeling, and like I love with gymnastics how there'll be the individual qualifiers for the national
Hmm.
championship and they'll rotate, with different teams. But and that has to be somewhat lonely for them to an extent,
Sure.
but they're kind of used to it, like you said, with the elite championships and
Hmm.
stuff growing up. But it's cool to see those teams rally around them and they're still cheering them on. And I like one of my favorite things about gymnastics is watching the floor routines, because as the season progresses, like the whole team's over there on the side and
Right.
they're all doing all the stuff and like they know everybody's routine. And I think that's super cool. And that's special about
Mhm.
gymnastics. So I really
For
love
sure.
that.
Yeah, and those individuals too. I remember at nationals we would always try to like make them feel like they're part of our team. They kind
Yeah.
of scared them a little. We're a little crazy sometimes, but I think they probably enjoy it. So
Well, I think it's much better that direction than for them to feel, excluded or like they weren't being celebrated. Because,
for sure.
yeah, that's really awesome. I can't imagine. I'm certainly not an athlete to any extent of the word. I'm just a fan.
That
But
just as important.
yeah, I mean, I love all sports. I really do. I obviously am enjoying the opportunity to have my platform to promote women
Hmm.
regardless of their age and regardless of what they did in the sports world, because I've talked to girls who do a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So like fan relations. Caitlin Fournier is who does fan relations for gymnastics now.
Hmm.
She wasn't there back in your day. She's only been there a few years. But I talked to her. She also does softball and football. I talked to a girl that does turf management. And
Hmm.
it's just cool to talk to these women in different roles, because we all encompass the same love for
Right.
sports and that we're all fans, but we all play a different role and we're all important. So that's
Agreed.
kind of my goal. It's funny you said that about being a fan and being important, because I decided this summer there's kind of that lull in
Hmm.
in college sports in the summer, and so I'm like, what am I going to do to fill my podcast slots? And I thought I'm going to do a fan series and talk to different fans, and so
Yeah.
I'm going to call it the Crimson Chronicles.
There you go.
And I have a couple people I've talked to that are, I guess you would call like a super fan, somebody that's been a fan for a long time. And we've all got a lot of stories to tell about
Mhm.
why we are the way that we are.
For
And
sure.
so, anyway, I'm looking forward to that. So,
Yeah.
since you brought up the importance of being a fan, I definitely agree with that because that's all I contribute to society sometimes is being a
I'm
fan.
sure it's more than that.
But yeah, but you know, like you said with gymnastics, over the years it's become easily more accessible between social media and being televised because I don't live in Norman, so I make it up to Norman for several meets during the
Mhm.
year, and I have for years, even back in your day. And I get up there as often as I can, but it's so nice these days. I can pick up my phone on Twitter and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
what's the scores? You know, what's going on in the meet?" Or if it's on TV and it's where I can watch it and I'm home, I'll watch. I always watch the national championship.
Fun.
So I love it. And so and I'm really that way. If OU is participating in it, I'm
Yeah.
going to track it in some form or fashion. So I'm thankful for technology and I'm thankful, like you said, for women's sports and how far it's come in the last decade especially, and just all the ways that it's becoming progressed across the world.
Good combo.
So tell me a little bit, just your time at OU. Like what maybe some of your favorite memories, or what's your favorite apparatus to compete on, or things like that.
Yeah, for sure. I was the bar girl at OU, so that's pretty much all I competed my whole career at OU. I know my junior year I was like number one or ranked number one all year, I believe. So
Awesome.
I've always loved bars. Like going into college, I don't know if the coaches know it, but I always said I want to do bars and beam. Like I don't care about floor and vault. Not my favorites. Bars was definitely there. I did some beams. Sometimes I would nail it, and other times I would fall pretty hard. So just depends. But I'd say my favorite memories there are just like all the ones traveling with my teammates, and I made like the best friends there. A bunch of us live in Dallas now, and they're
Oh,
like my
cool.
sisters. Yeah, we hang out all the time. So I give props to the coaches for creating that kind of culture too. We
Absolutely.
loved each other dearly. But yeah, I'd say all of our travel trips were just crazy. And I was kind of the one that entertained people. I feel like there's always a couple that do that. 'Cause I
Yes,
couldn't be too serious. Yeah. If I was serious in a competition, there was something wrong.
I just saw some of your TikToks
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
in the last couple days, so I get it. It's my kind of fun. So
Right, right. Yeah. So you got to stay loose, entertain,
yes.
keep it off me. Yeah. So I'm trying to think like I mean favorites probably would be winning and all in
Hmm.
different areas for sure. 'Cause like I said, the freshman year was crazy because it had never been done before, so the emotion was insane. And
Oh,
I
I bet.
we did it a lot for those seniors too because they
Uh-huh.
wanted it so bad. So like their leadership was insane with that year. And then
Who were
junior
some of the
year,
seniors that year?
it was Taylor Spears, Laura Albright,
Taylor. Okay.
Lauren,
Yes.
yeah, Lauren
Okay.
Alexander. Those, yep, they were awesome. Still close with all of them. And then junior year was like Keeley, Haley Skaman, and I know they wanted
Yes.
nothing more than to win. So there's pictures from that meet where I'm like, you can tell how bad we wanted it and how much it meant to us. And
That's awesome.
senior year, Maggie like sticking the final vault.
Oh,
We had already won pretty much, but she
uh-huh.
stuck the vault and it was like lights out. We knew we won. Crazy emotions there too. So
I bet so.
yeah, I would say all three of those are my favorite
That's
memories.
those are some fantastic memories. You said that after you graduated, you went on and got your master's, but you said you had scoliosis surgery. Oh my
Did.
gosh.
Yep.
That had to have been an ordeal. So how did that impact your gymnastics at any point, or were you like waiting to complete before you had the surgery, or how did?
Yeah, so I actually showed up to OU. I was like 4'10", little tiny thing. I had scoliosis when I walked or got there and they monitored it, but there's only so much you can do. And I wasn't one to ever like complain about pain or anything. So it
Uh-huh.
just partially my fault to not keep watching it. But by senior year, I had grown 4 inches and like the kind that I had,
Oh
yes, I was
wow.
5'2". KJ was like, why are your feet growing? I'm like, I don't know.
That's so
Yeah.
crazy.
So I like they were with me pretty much through like the teenage years, and
Yes.
got to experience the growth, all the fun things.
Oh my
But
goodness.
yeah, so we measured my freshman year. It was like 35 degrees was my biggest curve. And then by senior year, my mom was like, you need to get it rechecked. It looks pretty bad. And my like rib was poking out, my hip was pretty messed up. Yeah, so
Wow.
I went and checked and it was like 45 at the top, 75 in the middle, just crazy curves. And yeah, my doctor was like, it's not going to hurt you to do one more year if you want to finish it, but
Hmm.
like you need to get it once you're done because you're going to be crippled by age 30 if you don't.
Oh my word.
Yeah, yeah. So it was crazy. It was starting to like deform my heart and lungs and all kinds of stuff. But I
Oh
think that's
wow.
partially why, like, by college too. I was like, my back hurts all the time. Like,
I bet.
you don't realize it until then I got the surgery, and probably like 6 months in, I was like, oh my, I never realized how much pain I was in
Oh
until
my
I got
goodness.
it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow. Well,
crazy.
you hear people say that a lot, for different injuries or things they've dealt with during their life. And it's crazy to think the things that people endure
Right.
just everyday life, and like you continuing doing gymnastics and everything.
Yeah.
That's even more impressive to
It was
me.
pretty like a blessing too that I grew so late, because it could have been
Yes.
like that. Because the kind I had, as you grew, it got worse. So
Uh-huh.
it's a blessing that it was those years. Because if it would have been before, who knows what would have happened.
That's so
So
true. My
yeah,
goodness. That's crazy to think that you grew that much
I know.
in Norman. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it's
Well, like
wild.
you said, it was a blessing in disguise, I guess. I mean, if it was going to happen, at least it waited for you to win 3 national
Right,
championships.
right. Yeah, and then by senior year, I'm like, I'm definitely finishing. Like I can't,
Right.
it won't hurt me. So
My
yeah,
goodness. That is just nuts. Holy
yeah.
smokes.
That fifth
Okay.
year was nice though, because I got to do like I got half my master's, but got to volunteer at, like the Children's Hospital, elementary school, and be a normal student for a year. So
That's
it was good.
fun.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, I'm glad that you are okay
Right, right.
and that it all worked out the way that it did, because like I said, if it was going to happen, at least it allowed you to do and accomplish all of those things before it did. So
For sure. And I
just
grew
silver
like
lining. Be great.
seven
Be
inches.
grateful. Yeah. Okay. So you've ended up in Dallas, and there's a lot of other of your friends there as well. So tell me about what you do now and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So
What
I'm
led
in
you there?
for sure. So career-wise, I'm in cybersecurity sales, just a account executive, get to sell to Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas. So I enjoy that. Out treating people to lunch and stuff a lot. And
Yeah.
then so like Natalie, Maggie, Bree, Sam, Charity, a bunch of us are here, like I said. So I get to see them all the time, and we try to get together. I'd say like every other week or so, just at
That's so
different
cool.
points. Yeah, I've been in like all their weddings, and like maybe one day it'll be my turn.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
always the bridesmaid, but
I saw that someone got married this past weekend.
yep, yep.
And there were a bunch of y'all there. That's really cool that y'all have
Yeah.
that bond and that you're all still around and together. But, well, I was 27 when I got married
Okay, there you go.
and kind of in the neighborhood of where you are now. And, all of my friends had been married for years.
Right.
And most of them got married right out of college or, somewhere
Hmm.
along the way. And several of them had kids at my wedding, that
Yep.
were in the wedding because they were old enough to be at that point. But
Right.
yeah, it's a struggle sometimes. I mean, I get it. As you're always the bridesmaid or whatever. It's like 27 dresses that could have
No,
been
it
me.
is. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been since I was young too, so I enjoy it though. I'm like that. I love these girls, like
Oh
sisters.
yeah.
So and I'm just too picky, maybe. Who knows?
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I will tell you that. My husband is actually an OSU grad,
Oh,
which I never, ever, ever thought would happen. It's just the craziest. But he's younger than me. He's 5 years younger than me.
okay.
So he was 22 when we got married.
I always say I'm like I think I need to open the age to like 22 to 24, and then there's that gap, and I'm like 35 and above, maybe.
I know. It's really hard though,
Yeah.
because you think, okay, well, if you go too old, there's so many things that could be on the table there, and if you go too young, are they still going to be like immature or
Right,
whatever?
right.
But it's some older guys are still childish,
Oh
and
yeah,
some younger guys are like old men.
for sure. No,
And
definitely.
I joke, my husband, it's a long story, but I actually met him as a teenager and then we went our separate ways and reconnected. Obviously, because when you're a teenager, 5 years is a big deal.
It is. It
And
is.
so his sister and I were the same age. And so, anyway, but he's always been like an old man at heart, I guess you could say, just more mature for his age. So you just never know. Like,
You know.
you could get some newbie guy right out of college who's like, old at heart and ready to do the thing. So
Yeah.
you
I
truly just never know.
For sure. And I love, I think that's why I like my jobs. I've always told my mom this. Me and my two brothers, I don't know why, but we get along with just people older than us because
Yes.
the wisdom, like the conversation's
Yes.
better, all of it. But I think that's why I like my job sometimes. I get to talk to older people all the time.
Absolutely.
So,
And there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that
No,
because
no. Yeah.
it It's funny. I tend to like at our church. I, I have a guy. He's an old man, and I call him my old man boyfriend, which sounds weird because it's at church. But we always talk sports, and he's like in his 80s,
Right.
and him and his wife are precious, and I mean they're like our friends.
Sure,
And
yeah.
here, I mean, I'm 45 now, but they're quite a bit older than me, but. Every Sunday we talk sports
That's so awesome. Yeah.
after church, and his wife is so sweet, and we talk, just about whatever. So age is nothing but a number, and
No,
there's
exactly.
a lot to be learned from those older people because they have been through a lot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Definitely.
so yeah, you never know. You never know where your guy's coming from. So I love following all of you guys. I just think it's so cool to see the journey of all of you athletes and what got you to be the athlete that you are and what led you to OU. And then, of course, that journey there. And then afterwards, it's so neat to see what OU prepared you for,
sure.
in life and where you are now and, all your aspirations and, your job that you love. It might be something you do for a long time, or it might be, maybe you aspire to do something else. So,
Right.
are there any aspirations or anything that you have going forward that you want to talk about or share, anything like that?
I mean, I would say one, never thought I would be in sales. So I was always
Yeah.
very outgoing with people I know, but not usually, especially whenever I was younger, I just didn't like
Yes.
new people. So
Yes.
there's that. But I always have like a soft spot in my heart to mentor other people or whether they're my age, younger. I feel like that's a gift of mine. People come to me a lot for that stuff. So I feel like my calling might be something with that. But for now, I'm just
Yeah.
doing sales and we'll see kind of what doors open.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think something in that range. I've always thought about like either opening my own gym, coaching, mentoring with like the sales side of stuff. I just don't know. We'll see.
I get it. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot to consider
Right,
with
right.
all of those things. I mean, so I graduated with an education degree.
Okay.
And I did teach for a few years, and then I was just like, I don't want to do this for the next
Right.
however long. And so when I got married, my husband's a banker, and I was just like, I'm going to just find something and do it. So I actually worked in the medical field just as a receptionist, but I did scheduling, and stuff like that for years. And it's funny to think, like, over the last 20 years of my life, and now I work from home, I do social media marketing. So I'm self-employed. I started my own company back in 2018, and I just started marketing myself, which is
Right.
hard because I also am outgoing with my people,
Yeah.
like with people I'm comfortable with. But generally with strangers, like if I just walk into a room and don't know anyone, I'm going to be
Sit in a corner.
evaluated. Yeah, I'm going to be quiet. I'm not just going to come in and make a scene.
No.
And so that was a challenge, because I had to start selling myself. Like, this is what I'm doing. And
Right.
but it helped me. I mean, because now I don't even know you, and I'm talking to a complete stranger, and I do this all the time. And my husband laughs at me because he says, I hate talking on the phone too. And he's like, you're going to FaceTime, basically,
Right.
with all of these complete strangers to talk about OU
Different.
sports.
It's
It is different, but
Yeah.
when you find people that are like your people, like obviously we share a love for OU.
Right.
And all of the people that I've talked to, same thing, it could on whatever level. And there's some people I've sat and talked to for 30, 45 minutes. And there's, like yesterday, I talked to a softball girl. Again, never met her. We have been texting some during softball season.
Right.
But we talked for nearly 2 hours.
There
and
you go.
this girl lives in New York State now. I mean, hopefully someday I can meet her in person, but who knows?
Yeah.
But it's just so funny how life works out because 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life or what my purpose was or whatever. Not that social media marketing is my purpose, but
But you're calling for it for
yeah,
sure.
that wasn't a thing 15
Yeah.
years ago. So
Yeah.
you just never know how things are going to unfold over time and work out. And then I just happened to meet Chris Plank. I just saw him somewhere. And I just started talking to him, introduced myself. Well, we became friends.
That's really
And
cool.
over the years, I've actually been on the radio with him a couple of times, just very briefly. But that's kind of what sparked me to do this. I mean, obviously, my love for OU has been there my whole life, but I never thought that I could sit behind a camera or a microphone and talk to people that I don't know. But
Right,
here
right.
we are, and I do like to give him a little credit because he inspired me a little bit. But you just never know where life is going to lead you,
Yeah.
and like I said, something 5, 10, 15 years down the road, what's going to unfold that you can't even imagine right now. So
Yeah, yeah. And
I
it's like
totally get what you're
props to
saying.
you for starting for sure. Because I feel like a lot of times, like what we're most scared of is what we're probably called to do.
That's
You
so
just gotta
true.
like step
Yeah.
out of your comfort zone. So props to you for doing it. I've always said a podcast would be so fun. So when you
It
reached out saying you're
is.
starting it, I was like, that's so cool. That's maybe something too I want to do down the road.
Yeah, well, thank
Yeah,
you. I would be happy to help any way that I can.
yeah.
But I get it, and I know I've seen you talking on social media about your faith being important
Mhm.
to you, and it is to me as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that keeps us grounded.
Mhm.
And like when you have a piece about something and you feel like the Lord is putting something out there for you, and like you're scared a little bit,
Right.
obviously, but you're just like, okay, I'm doing this now. And to be honest, that's really how it's been. And I will say, I'm very thankful. I have my husband to fall back on. He's
Yeah.
very supportive in whatever harebrained idea that I have. And in fact, he's the one that pushes me to have the harebrained ideas. I
That's
mean, he's
awesome.
the one that pushed me to, start my company and do all the things. And I don't know that I had it in me completely at the time, but it's one of those things where he planted the seed, or, anybody can plant
Right.
a seed in your head and you're like, okay, if I don't get it out of my brain, I pray about it,
Hmm.
and you just go from there. If the doors start opening and working out, then you just never know what could
Right.
happen. And it's
Yeah.
crazy. It is scary, though, I will say. I mean, when I decided to start this podcast, it happened quick. Like, I'd been
Yeah.
toying
Yeah.
around with it for a minute. And then it's just like I woke up one day and said, okay, I'm going to do this.
Right.
So I texted my friend who did my logo. He does graphic design. So I said, hey, I have this crazy idea. So don't make fun of me, but I need you to make me a logo for this podcast. And he was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
Right. Right. It is so cool.
And so he made my logo, and then I just slowly started telling people. And I wasn't necessarily, I don't want to say I was scared to like tell people, but it's just one of those things like, what if I fail?
Right.
Like,
Right.
what if this is a complete flop and everybody's like, I'm not listening to that. That's too much.
Right. Right.
I mean, but I just decided from the get go, and kind of the same thing with my company. I mean, obviously, with my company, I was aiming for employment,
Hmm.
and I wanted that to replace my job at the time and sustain me in that form. But with my podcast, I was like, okay, I'm going to have fun with this because
Hmm.
I love OU sports and I love talking to people about OU sports. Anybody that will listen.
Right.
And also, I keep track of all of this stuff anyway. I mean, I might not make notes of it,
Right, but you
but
have it.
I'm on Twitter. Yeah, I'm following. Like, I know what's going on with the track team this week. I mean,
Right.
who knows that? I know, what's going on with tennis or, whatever. And so I just thought, okay, it's time to organize those thoughts and,
Mhm.
just see where this goes. And I reached out to Chris Plank early on and was like, hey, you've kind of inspired me because I enjoyed being on the radio with him.
Right.
And as brief as it was, and I just thought, I think I can do this. So I had him on my show pretty early on. He agreed to come on, and like that was a big deal for me that
Sure.
he supported me and he helped promote me and just say, hey, this guy's on my show, because a lot of people know his name in the OU world.
Mm.
And just to have that support was huge. And then I had another KREF guy on, Tyler McComas. Same thing with him. I just randomly met him. I actually just met him like 6 months ago.
Cool.
So he doesn't even know me hardly at all,
Right.
but we've gotten to know each other. But it's just finding those people that can help you
For sure.
in whatever way that may be. And it's like I told him, I said, I'm going to name drop you to people. I just started emailing
Sure.
people,
Yeah.
messaging them on Instagram. And if that's something you decide to do someday, where you start a podcast or a
Right.
gym or whatever, that's really what you have to do. You
Mhm.
just have to put yourself out there and go, okay, I'm going to email these people,
Right.
Instagram, whatever. And if you have somebody to name drop that you can, which, I mean, you've got plenty of support behind you, do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how all that's helped me in doing it. And like, I've had some pretty bigger name people on just because I mean, I'm not trying to give Chris Plank all my credit, but I do think it helps to be like, hey,
Sure.
Chris he's my friend. Like, you
Yeah.
can call him right now. I'm a little crazy, but not in a bad way. But
Everyone's a little crazy.
absolutely. If we're not crazy, we're not having fun.
Right.
But anyway, all that to say, it's super scary and overwhelming. I mean, I figured out how to do all this on my own.
Yeah.
But I was so interested in doing it that I never thought twice about it. I just woke up one day and was like, okay, I'm doing this.
And it's like fun for you too. So
Yes,
that's
it
fun.
really
Yeah.
is. And here I am. I just started. It's just a learning curve and putting yourself out there. And like I said, it's amazing. Like I'm sitting here talking to you and I don't know you, but we're FaceTiming. And I do that several times a week. And it doesn't faze me. I don't get nervous. I don't like freak out or anything. I'm just like, well, here we are. But it's just that feeling that you have, like that peace, I guess, when you're doing. Yeah, when you're doing what you're supposed to do and having fun with it. So
For sure.
the Lord just opens doors.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like, so last year, I'm big about the peace stuff because, like, for me, if doors will open if they're supposed to, they won't if they won't.
Absolutely.
Like, in jobs and stuff, in sales, it's kind of normal to just hop around or, like, get promoted, all that stuff. So there was a spot that at my company I was at that opened in Colorado, and I had always said, or not Colorado, it opened in Austin. I was interviewing for it to move because that's where my family is. So I was like, that's not even a far move.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be fine. But then they had already filled it and they said I was like, I'm open to moving to Colorado. And that spot was opening like that day. So the manager was like, I don't even want you to interview. Like, I'll give you the job type of thing. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, it's falling in my lap, whatever. So I moved to Colorado and it felt like there was a lot of peace because I think there was, and like there's lessons to everything. But I learned pretty quick that I'm a Texas girl and I think the lesson learned is like sometimes the door will open, God will almost teach you a lesson too, where it's like, this is what you thought you wanted, and like I gave you a taste of it, and it's not. So
that's so true
as
well.
Back.
That is so true as well. Yeah, I can think of a lot of instances for that even with myself over the years. And sometimes too, I feel like, if like you said, if it's something we think we want and we're super persistent about it, the Lord's just going to be like, okay.
Like, I didn't even try.
Go right ahead and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it teaches us lessons that we didn't even know we needed to know. And I'm sure you can agree, like looking back over the years, I wouldn't change anything. Even those crazy choices I made that obviously weren't right for me, but they taught me a lesson and it got me back on track, and here we go.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, I completely agree with you. And that's so crazy. So how long were you in Colorado?
It was the longest 5 months of my life. So my cousin lives there, which is why I said, like, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But she lives there, so I moved in with her and was, like, trying to find apartments. Rent was crazy. It was nice weather, so I was okay with that.
Yeah.
Just little stuff here and there. I found myself flying to Texas a lot. I think I realized too how much I value like friends and family and the convenience of it. I didn't like being not drivable to my family. I'm independent, but like living away is so different, I think, than just traveling for a trip. So I've traveled alone since I was like 6 years old, but it's different. And then, about 4 months in, I was like, Mom, I've got to get an apartment back in Dallas. Like, this is not working for me. So I actually re-signed at the place that I left. So I'm sure they were like, what are you doing?
Where'd you go?
Why did you leave for 5 months and now you're back? But I'm in the same complex and then just started applying for new jobs and then was in my final rounds. This is a God thing too. So we went to, I was in my final round somewhere and then I ran into a girl at church and she was like, before you take an offer, like talk to this guy. And we just had like common connections and I talked to him and from then on was like, I guess I'm taking this new job and it's been great since, but.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, it's sometimes it's a God thing. And once you got back where you needed to be and where, I'm not saying even maybe you never should have left because I think you learned.
It was great growth and like learning that. But the peace thing is real for sure too. Even like my choices with OU, my mom was like, you're crazy. You're not going to visit anywhere else. My dad's like, shut up. She's close to home. And coaches from other schools were like mad. But I'm like, no, I just know. Like, I know that this is where I want to go and I don't want to look other places. So,
Well, that is so true in life. And when you know and you don't have that second guess, like doubt or whatever, I think that means a lot. And I've learned a lot through the years about I hate to use the word intuition because I feel like it's more than that. I feel like it's the Lord using, I mean, if you're trying to live close to him and stay close to him, I think that that's intuition is something that he gifts us, but he uses that to guide us. But I have learned not to doubt that, because when I have doubted it or thought, okay, well, maybe that's nothing, I'm just going to go over here and do my own thing, it's just like, no, I tried to tell you, you didn't listen. So again, yeah, I think it's just part of growing. And
For sure.
gosh, man, my 20s, I wouldn't want to live my 20s again by any means. They were great. I loved, my time at OU as well. But I don't want to go back to that. I don't want to go back. Yeah. And, I feel like life gets better as you go on. I'm not one to have like regrets, because I feel like everything happens for a reason, and we all learn and grow from all the things.
Yeah.
Here I am at 45, and hopefully at 45 you can say the same thing.
Right. No, I'm turning 30 this year, so I always say, I'm like, my 20s, I think I've been 10 different people. No lie.
Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy. And my younger friends, sometimes I'm like, look, you're 23 years old. Like, you shouldn't have stuff figured out yet.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I think we thought we did at 23.
Right. Yep.
But we clearly did not. But yeah, turning 30, oh my gosh. So my husband just turned 40 this year.
Okay.
So, and I'm 45. But I remember even when I turned 30, and now just watching him turn 40, like into a new decade, it's so weird, because you think, how is this happening? Like, how am I 30? How am I 40? But again, I look back over the previous decade and I'm like, that was fun. But yeah, let's go on, because I don't want to do that again. But hitting those decades, it really hits. I mean, when I was about to turn 30, we hadn't been married too long, and we were going to try to have kids, which that did not work out for us. And that's a whole story I will not go off into, but we don't have kids, and we did try. And it's one of those things where, like, you feel like, and this part you'll get, like, okay, I'm a woman, I'm supposed to get married, I'm supposed to have kids, I'm supposed to do all these things. And sometimes life doesn't work out that way for whatever reason, or sometimes it's delayed as far as our human calendars go. And so that's really hard. But, looking back, again, it sucked. That whole process, it was not fun. But I wouldn't change it, because there's things and people in our life now that we're able to do and able to help that we wouldn't be able to do if we had our own kids. And I think it's just one of those things where, as people, as women, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
To do things, especially by a certain time. And we just can't do that. We just can't do it. And you just never know. I mean,
you don't. Yeah, I would have sworn I was like going to be married with kids by now, but I'm also grateful I'm not, because I look and I'm like, I don't know what kind of parent I would have been at 25.
I know.
Probably good. And like, I wouldn't have wanted to probably date myself at 25. So there's
Same. Yeah. Well, it's really funny now at my age, I see college students, all these athletes, and like their parents are my age. Right. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, I cannot imagine having a kid, at 25 or, around there. That's when those kids or parents would have had their kids. And I'm going, dude, I was barely out of college, and my life was a hot mess in some extent. It's so funny looking back, just how things work out. But I'm sure that those people would say what we're saying. Like, for sure. They didn't know what they were doing either. It was just like, okay, well, I have this kid and I got to figure it out. And they wouldn't trade it for anything. So yeah. My
parents were always like, our biggest advice is be financially stable. And before you start having kids or like get into a relationship, anything, I'm like, y'all cursed me. Because now I'm too competitive and like,
you're like, okay,
here, but I don't want to do it anymore. So
what you really need is some money.
Right.
And then we can move on down the ladder.
Right,
okay.
Right. Yeah.
There is truth to that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But also, I feel like sometimes life, like, we're never ready for the next thing,
Yeah.
Because it's just crazy. I mean, my husband he actually didn't finish college until after we were married. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because he didn't technically have like the traditional college life, because he started and some things happened, and then he came back home, which is when we reconnected and got married. all that to say, like, we were young and poor when we got married, which a lot of people are.
Yeah.
But, we tried the same thing. Like, okay, we got to get X amount in savings and all of this,
Yeah.
Before we want to try to have a kid or whatever. And yeah, I mean, there's obviously some truth to that. And some,
For sure. I'm like, you'll probably regret telling me it now, though, because
I'm sure they do.
Say, like, you want
But
grandkids, but you told me to focus on my career.
You told me to give money. That's what I'm trying to do. But yeah, your part of you will never be like ready.
No,
it's just, it's like a moving target, honestly.
Yeah,
It's just, it goes back to the whole having peace and just what doors are opening and all that. So you just never know.
No, for sure.
I think, life is important and it happens to all of us. So
I agree.
So, but I wish you the best of luck in all the things, because I know it's hard. Like I said, I wouldn't go back to being in my 20s again for sure, but I wouldn't change anything. And life gets better as you go on. I don't want to say it gets easier. It's just...
I don't take it too serious either. I'm like, people are struggling in this world, and I've got it pretty good.
Absolutely. Well, and you have to live life and have fun, because you never know what tomorrow holds in so many different facets. And you might as well YOLO. I don't know if that's still a thing.
Yeah.
But I still joke and say it because I do go to, we travel a lot. Since we don't have kids, it's easier to do that. But I do attend a lot of sporting events too. And sometimes I even have to go by myself because I'm more flexible with my job than my husband. And anyway, so I always just say, well, maybe in another 10 years, I don't want to go to the baseball game or sit out in the heat or, drive to Norman every week to go to football games or whatever. So I'm just going to do it now while I can, and I want to. So
we're just never promised tomorrow either. Not to get too deep, but my brother's friend tragically passed away about 6 months ago, just in a freak accident, but it put things into perspective. Like, she was this beautiful 25-year-old girl, really strong in her faith, weirdly started getting into her faith more a couple months before too. So I think God was prepping her probably, and the rest of us too. But
for sure,
it just reminds you tomorrow's not promised, and you got to just live life to the fullest.
For sure. You're exactly right, because I have also, seen that happen where we've lost a friend or a loved one, or too soon or too early and tragically. And it's so hard because you think, oh, they were just getting the things together and getting things figured out. Like, why did this happen? And it's really hard not to question. But again, it just goes back to, I'm given today. This is the day that I have, and here's what I'm doing. And if you can go to sleep at night and be grateful and thankful and at peace for how you lived your day and all that, then to me, there's nothing more that you can ask for at this point, because that's the best we can do. So
yeah, for sure.
Do you have any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to share that maybe I didn't ask, or anything?
I'm trying to think. I think I'm blessed to have the opportunity to compete for OU and the best team. And I think OU will always be home to me, and I'm grateful you reached out to me to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love to talk with you as you relive through all the things, because I know that was a big part of your life, getting there to accomplish all of those things, and then actually accomplishing them is huge, because so many people don't win national championships, especially more than one. And I just think that is cool to hear your stories, and so I appreciate you taking the time to share it with me.
That's cool. I forgot too, before committing to OU, I never even had dreams of college gymnastics, because it wasn't I feel like it wasn't as big maybe whenever, and I just had my sights on the Olympics and all I wanted to do. I mean, I guess I was only in 7th or 8th grade, but still, it's crazy. But that's awesome.
You're right, and I do think the Olympics is a big thing, which, I mean, it is, but I think that's something, when people think gymnastics, that's where their brain goes, is the Olympics, and thinking Simone Biles or Nastia Liukic, all the way back to whenever, Shannon Miller. I remember the 80s sitting and watching the Olympics as a kid, because I've always loved gymnastics, and that's where people's brains go. But most recently, in the last decade or so, I think people think about the OUs and the UCLAs and the LSUs. Yeah, they really have. And I think Coach KJ and her crew and all of you girls that have played such a big role in that. And I think it's awesome. Of course, I'm thankful as a Sooner fan, because I feel like OU softball and OU women's gymnastics have changed the sports that they're a part of, and just women's sports, and just, I think it's incredible. And again, I'm obviously thankful that OU is at the forefront of that. But just in general, I have to be grateful for women's athletics and then just the sports in general and how much they've grown and propelled in the last decade. And it's cool that you have been a part of that. So
Yeah,
I
it's been
love
cool
it.
to see it all like transformed. Again, like I said, the elite gymnastics side too, like they have fun at meets now. It's crazy to
Yeah.
watch. I'm like, I did not have fun.
Well, I heard that. That's what Brenna kind of said the same thing. Like it's more serious, competitive, and not so much, that team. Obviously, the
Right.
team aspect isn't there like it is in college. So
Right.
that's something I've never really thought about. I mean, I,
Yeah,
I don't
it's
have any
changed.
experience.
It's
So
changed now for sure. Like I see the girls cheering for each other and stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's cool to see it trickle down. Because like it would have been so much
absolutely.
more enjoyable to do all that. But
Yeah,
no
that
regrets. Learned a lot.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Well, you've had an interesting journey
it has.
in life, and it's led you to a great place. So I hope it continues to do so.
Thank you.
So I have to ask before I let you go, what is your favorite sport to watch other than gymnastics or
Other
participate in?
than gymnastics, but I'll say I think basketball actually.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like I guess diving too. I like diving a
Uh-huh.
lot.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, basketball is impressive to me because it's fast.
It
I
is
get
fast.
bored sometimes at slow games, so
Uh-huh.
yeah, I like basketball. I had to
Are
choose.
you a Mavs fan or a Thunder fan, or do you just like college basketball?
I'd say probably Mavs if
Okay.
I'm gonna do pro, and
Yeah.
then I like college though.
Yeah.
College is fun.
March Madness. It's some
So
good
fun.
stuff. It
We
is
did a
fun.
work event for that. It was so fun because it was like the University of Houston and Arkansas. No, I don't know who it was, but we went to this cool place that made you feel like you were at the game.
Oh,
So
that's so cool.
yeah, yeah,
That's awesome.
it was awesome.
So the Mavs going to get the number one pick in the draft, so they're getting the Duke kid, Cooper Flag.
He's
And
a
so
killer, right? Like he makes yeah, he's really
yes.
good.
Yeah, he's very good. He's a
Yeah.
big, tall kid. He was a freshman, played one season at Duke, decided to declare for the draft. So, yeah.
Awesome.
So anyway, props to Dallas. You'll be a happy camper, I think. All right, well, Mackenzie, I
Sounds
do
good.
appreciate you so much for taking the time to chat with me, and I enjoyed visiting with you about all the things. And thank you for sharing. Thank you again to Sweet Mackenzie for taking the time to come on the show and chat with me. And I want to introduce our next interview for today with former OU gymnast Brenna Dowell-Barnes. And Brenna was a gymnast at the University of Oklahoma from 2015 to 2019. Prior to her time there, she was a 7-time national team member, a world champion, a 2-time Olympic trials competitor. While she was at OU, she and her team won 4 Big 12 conference championships and 2 national titles. Brenna also won individual titles, 2 of them, one on the floor and one on the vault, and she was named the 2019 Big 12 Gymnast of the Year. Her favorite Sooner memory is winning the national championship as a team her senior year. Her fun fact is her husband, Dowell-Barnes, is a former OU wrestler, and she has a floor moved that is named after her. And we talk about both of those things in our conversation. So thank you, Brenna, for taking the time to chat. She's got a lot of fun stories to tell, so I hope you guys enjoy my conversation with Brenna Dowell-Barnes. And you can find Brenna on Twitter at Brenna_Dowell and on Instagram at Brenna Dowell. And again, I will link all of this in the show notes. So enjoy my conversation with former OU gymnast Brenna Dowell. Well, thank you, Brenna, so much for joining me. I feel like I just watched you compete
Yeah.
at OU, and I'm sure to you it partly feels like yesterday, and other times it feels like it's been forever. So when I
Yeah.
looked up how long you had been gone, I was shocked.
Right. It's exactly like you said.
I'm sure. Okay, so tell me just a little bit how you got involved in gymnastics, and you've got quite a journey before you even got to OU. So let's hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I started gymnastics when I was just 1.5 years old. So I started young. I had 2 older sisters, and they both did cheerleading. And in order to join the varsity squad, they needed to know how to do a back handspring. And so my mom felt bad that they hadn't learned how to do that yet. And so she put them in a class at one of the local gyms around us called Back Handspring Clinic. And whenever she put them in that class, she went ahead and enrolled me in a class too. It was like a parent taught, mommy and me type class.
Okay.
And I fell in love with it from that very first summer. My mom told me, she took me out. I think we did it for a few months, and she took me out. And somehow I was 2 years old. Anytime we'd pass the gym, I'm pointing out the window saying, I called
Oh,
it Bumble Day for Tumble Day. So I would point out the window and cry and say, Bumble Day, Bumble Day. And so from that age, I just fell in love with the sport. So then after that, I think the next fall, she put me back in classes, and I was there ever since. So I started at Gage Center in Blue Springs, Missouri, and I did my whole club career at that same gym. So
okay.
that was a cool experience for me, that it just happened to be about 20 minutes from where I grew up, but I got to do my training there for my whole career.
That's awesome. That's a really cute story, but clearly you were drawn to it for a good reason and it paid off for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so during your club time, is that when you had your national team member and world championship, or where did all that fall into the timeline?
Yeah, so in gymnastics, you start kind of from level one, level two, level three, you move up, and then the highest level in the JO is level 10. And so I made it to level 10 when I was 13.
Oh wow.
And whenever I was a level 10, I went to JO Nationals and honestly had one of my best meets of my career. So prior to that, I would get, maybe top five all around, kind of middle of the pack. But at nationals in level 10, I finished second in the all around. And so that was a pretty big deal for me. I ended up winning vault, second all around, second floor. So that was kind of the first meet that I proved to myself that, I could really achieve something in the gymnastics world. And so that summer, once we finished the competition season, I went and tried to train for elite. So you have to get a compulsory score and an optional score in order to try to compete at the elite level. And when you're at the elite level, that's when you make the national team.
Okay.
And so I did end up making it elite that summer. I think it was the summer of 2009. But I made it to classics and to the national championships, but I didn't end up making national team. But then the next year, I continued trying, continued training, and made national team for the first time in 2010. I was on the junior national team. And then from 2010 to 2016, I got to represent Team USA on the world stage in
Awesome.
Mexico, Italy, Germany, a lot of places around the world. And then also got to just train with some of the gymnastics greats and get to have that experience.
That is so cool. I was going to ask you where all you got to go during that time. So that's incredible, especially at that age. Like, that's a lot to take in.
Yeah, for sure.
So I can't imagine. So you went to the Olympic trials twice. So
Yes.
tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that was a really cool experience for me, especially because when you're a gymnast, everyone always asks you, like, oh, you're a gymnast, are you going to the Olympics? That's the first question you get asked. And for me, it was always like, maybe. I was more of a short-term goal type of person. So I was never the kid that grew up like, I really want to go to the Olympics. I was more like, okay, I want to make it to nationals. I want to make my first international assignment. Okay, I want to place top three. And so I kind of looked at things more like that. But definitely Olympic years are a bit more exciting. So 2012 Olympic trials, I had just turned 16. So I was a new senior, transition from junior elite to senior elite when you turn 16.
Okay.
And so there weren't really a lot of big expectations on me, especially because it was my first year as a senior. But it was really cool. I got to compete in like the same group as Nastia Lukin, and there were just a lot of really big names, and just getting that experience to compete with some of the biggest names in gymnastics, as well as getting to compete in front of that giant crowd, was just really cool. And then after 2012, I made a bit more of a name for myself, was alternate for the world championships in 2013 and 2014, and actually was a team member in 2015 when we won the world championships title. So that was cool. So going into yeah, so going into 2016, there were definitely a lot more expectations for myself. But I was really happy with how I did. It was cool to get to come back a second time. That doesn't happen very often. A lot of people just go one quad. So to get that experience was really cool. And then I went out there, I hit my routines the best that I could at that time, and didn't quite make the team, but I was still really happy with how everything went, because for that 2015-2016 season, it was actually after my freshman year at OU. So I had taken a year off to defer, and my biggest goals during that deferment were to get a skill named after me on floor, and to make it to the 2015 World Championships, compete that skill, and to win a gold medal with a team. And I was able to accomplish those two goals. So I was really happy with how that went, even if I didn't make the Olympic team.
Okay. Well, I've been watching OU gymnastics for at least 20 years. I graduated from OU in 2003, so it's been a minute. But, I always kind of followed the team and everything. It's really neat to see where you girls have come from and then your time and now kind of where you are now. But how did you end up at Oklahoma since you're from Missouri?
Yeah, so I got my first college letter when I was about 13, whenever I first made it to level 10 nationals. I think it was from like Georgia or something. It was really cool, but I had
Wow.
like not even thought about college at all because I was in eighth grade, like I wasn't even in
Yeah.
high school yet. But that probably put it on my radar. Doing college gymnastics was always a big goal. My club gym had a lot of girls that had gone on to college and had college scholarships, and so that was always, my goal and my plan, and I always wanted to go to college. And so once I started becoming like a freshman and sophomore, I started looking into things more. And I think initially I wanted to go to like Florida or UCLA because I wanted to be by the beach, which is kind of what you think about, right, when you're like 15. But then I had a teammate, Rebecca Clark. She actually went to OU, but she was at my club gym as well. And
Okay.
she really helped me think about different things that were going to be important. And so one of the things that ended up being really important to me was being able to drive home if I wanted to and not be like too far away, like maybe Florida and
Right.
UCLA would be.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I actually went on tours to Arkansas and OU. I didn't really have a lot of extra time in my schedule due to doing elite to go on any other visits. My coaches really hated if I missed practice. And
Understandable.
so I really just kind of picked my two best options and went to go visit there. And I had a good experience at both, but OU just really, they made it feel like they really wanted me on their team versus at that time, Arkansas was kind of just like, you can come if you want, but OU was like, we really want to have
Oh,
you. We
wow.
really want you on our team. And
Yeah.
just that feeling of like, they really want me there definitely pushed them over the top. I also had my teammate, Rebecca Clark, who was at OU, and she was doing her freshman season at the time, and she had nothing but good things to say. And I just had really good connections with KJ, Lou, and Tom, and
Yes.
they were always just really nice, really welcoming. And it's crazy to think about now, but at that point, OU hadn't won their first national title yet.
That is crazy to think
And
about.
so I was thinking, I was like, oh, I want to go to OU because they're not like one of the very top teams in the nation. So I'll have a better chance of making lineups and getting to contribute just because I'm not going to a team that's going to be just oversaturated with talent. I'll
Makes
get
sense.
to contribute a lot on this team. And so I ended up being able to do that. You can't really say the same thing about OU now, but it was really cool to get to join an up and coming program and get to be a part of the start of the legacy now.
You definitely were the start, and that is incredible to think about. Like you said, they hadn't even won a national championship yet because now they have 7, I think.
I think so.
I think
Yeah.
that is crazy. But us OU fans are kind of spoiled, even with men's gymnastics, which I know gets overlooked sometimes. But that program is at the top every year as well. But us girls, us women, we're spoiled with softball and recent gymnastic success because we just think that it's just going to happen. And yeah, so it's crazy to think they were not at the top, so to speak, and clearly got there pretty quickly.
I was 16, so I was still a sophomore in high school, and they won their first national championship in 2014. So I would have been a senior in high school when they won.
Okay.
And then I joined and won my first one in 2017. So
okay, that's so crazy to think about. So I've heard nothing but good things about the coaches, KJ and her husband, and I've just literally heard nothing but good about them, and that makes me happy because I have a lot of love for OU and anything OU sports. So just knowing that there's good quality people there that, like you said, are making you feel welcome and also building a quality program. That's super cool to hear. I like to hear that. So okay, so while you were at OU, who were some of your teammates? I'm trying to remember some names.
Yeah, so my initial class, my freshman year, I was with AJ Jackson,
Oh,
Samantha
yes.
Kraus, Natalie Brown, and Stephanie Couture.
Okay.
And then I took that year off and came back, and then my
Mm-hmm.
class became Nicole Lehrman, Alex Marks, and Ashley Hiller.
Okay.
I was also with the team on the team with like Erica Brewer, Rebecca Clark, that class,
Mm-hmm.
Myliana Kaneva, Haley Skaman,
Oh, yes. Okay.
Keely, Kara, Chase, those folks. And then for the younger, Carly, Anastasia, Joe, Evie, and then Allie and O, Olivia Troutman were my
Okay.
freshmen.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so quite a range of people. It's crazy to name
It
them all.
really
When I was
is. It
sending
really
out my
is.
wedding invitations, it was like, man, I have so many teammates.
I bet so. Well, because
Yeah,
you've been all over the place and competed with so many people, it's a lot. I'm sure.
yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, so at OU, you guys won 4 Big 12 championships, which I'm not
Yep.
surprised, and then your 2 national titles. So tell me what it's like going through a season from the beginning all the way through to Big 12 championship and then a national championship. How your emotions play into it, in the journey.
Yeah, so it takes a lot of work, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So at the beginning of season, basically coinciding with the beginning of the school year, we start preseason. And when we start preseason, that's 6 a.m. workouts as well as balancing your class schedule. And then during the summer, during the off season, you're just doing individual skills. But once preseason hits, you start putting your routines together, finalizing the skills that you want to compete, and then just working up your strength and endurance to be prepared for the grind of season. So OU's preseason is really hard. Whenever I came in my freshman year, I actually came in November. And so I'd been training for the World Championships, and I ended up being an alternate that year. And I showed up for like a week, and I did OU's conditioning, and I was more sore than I'd ever been in my whole life. And so it's like I'm over here training elite, like at the peak of my career, and OU conditioning is still so hard.
Wow, that's so
Yeah.
crazy.
So we do preseason, we do a lot of circuits, and we do some cross training with swimming and track.
Oh, wow.
And then we start putting our routines together. You start with half routines and then start building into full routines. KJ, Lou, and Tom, they really have a formula that works good. And then a lot of people by this point, once you make it to college gymnastics, your routines are pretty set in stone. You're not necessarily learning new skills. At least that's how it was for me. It was just working on the details and all of the little things. And so that's a big part of what preseason is about, is just figuring out all of those little things and getting into top tier shape. So then December hits, we do our inner squad, and so that's our first time debuting our routines, the first look that you guys get at lineups, but also the first look that we see of lineups. And so you're working really hard, and you're like always hoping to make the lineups, but whenever you see that inner squad, that's kind of the first look at what they're going to look like. And so that's always really exciting. You get to debut your floor routine for the first time. And it just kind of shows you where you're at. So then early January, we usually only get like a couple days off for Christmas break because our season starts so soon after.
Yes.
So then early January, we have our first meet, and OU usually hits the ground running. And we did that whenever I was on the team. They still do that now.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely still a peaking process. You don't want to be too good in January,
Right.
but you also don't want to wait until April to try to do your best.
Mm-hmm.
We immediately start trying to be our best in January. And throughout the season, there's always some ups and downs. You've got injuries that happen, which are always really sad and unfortunate. And then you have other people stepping up and lineups changing as different things change. So looking back on my senior year, we had a lot of adversity going through the season. We had a lot of lineup changes. We had a lot of new people step up, and we had a lot of good team camaraderie because it was always next person up.
That's good.
And so we were able to kind of support each other in that way, and then also just always be able to have each other's back. We struggled a little bit that season too. We had a lot of falls during the regular season, which luckily in gymnastics you get to drop one.
Yes, yes.
But I think having some of that adversity also really helped us whenever we got to the national championship, because we actually had a fall in both days, but it didn't really phase us because we'd been through that this whole season. And so then once you get into postseason, you kind of know exactly what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
You might get a little bit more nervous. I always tried really hard not to get nervous by distracting myself with different things and not overthinking it. And by this point, you're really confident in your routines as well. Like you can hit these routines in your sleep.
Yeah.
And so it comes down to not really thinking about what you're doing and just trusting in the training that you've put in all season. From preseason to now, you've done everything you need to do. You just have to trust yourself.
That makes
And
sense.
so postseason is just really fun. It's when you get to go out there and try to bring home some championships. And I don't know. I always had a really good time in college gymnastics just because in elite, it was so serious and you didn't have the same team aspect. And it's like when I competed at world championships, it was just me. Like I didn't have any of my club teammates. I didn't have my coaches on the floor. It was just me. And so that was really hard. And so being in college, it's like you've got your coaches, you've got your teammates, you look over, they're cheering for you. I remember my senior year, my floor routine, I like look over and they're all cheering for me as I'm going. I'm smiling at them, I'm looking at them.
I love it.
And it's just like, it's so fun to compete in college gymnastics. And so I think once you get to the postseason, it's just remembering kind of all of the work you've put in and just trusting that. And, you know, sometimes it works out. You win a national championship. We won 2 of them while I was there. And sometimes, you know, you do your best, and you know we got 3rd my freshman year and 2nd my junior year, and that can be tough to overcome, but it's also like finishing top 3 is pretty good.
Absolutely. It's easy to overlook that though. You know, like I said, we get really spoiled to, oh, you know, we're going to win a national championship or whatever, and it's definitely easy to overlook that. So
yeah, and it can be heartbreaking in the moment, but you still have to take away those good things.
Of course, yeah.
But for me, I got lucky. I got to go out on top my senior year.
You did.
My final vault was one of the best pieces of gymnastics I've ever done. So
that's so cool.
It was awesome.
Well, you talking about the, you know, having your team there and everything. I think about the girls that rotate that qualified individually for a national championship and their team's not there, but they're rotating with a different team. And it's cool to see how they tried to embrace her and make her feel welcome and give her that homey feeling, but it's still not the same. But I do think it's really cool. You know, you were talking about the floor routine and how everybody's smiling, but I love it because throughout the season, you guys have seen that routine 1,000 times. Like everybody has seen everybody, so you know all the moves, and so everybody's over there doing the thing or whatever. And it's kind of funny to watch, but I love it because I think it proves what you just said. Like everybody, you know, your whole team is supporting you and they're there cheering you on, and that's really cool to see. So that's cool that you pointed that out, and that's the first thing that came to my mind when you said that. So, okay, so you brought up the vault.
Yes.
Your last vault, so you won a national title individually for the vault and your floor routine.
So I won the national title on vault my junior year, and then won the national title on floor my senior year.
Okay, perfect. So you did that on top of the team national championship, which is such a cool experience to think, like you did all of that yourself.
Yeah, no,
That's
it's
really
awesome.
neat.
It's just icing on the cake. I think I always wanted to All-American, and I always wanted to win a team national championship. And I never really thought about winning an individual national championship. I think I didn't necessarily think it was attainable. And then to come away with not just 1, but 2, and being an All-American and becoming a team national champion, it's like that was a really cool experience for me.
That's awesome. So you also mentioned that you debuted a skill.
Yes.
Your senior year. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so part of the reason I took a year off after my freshman year was 1, to try to make the world championship team, and 2, to get the front double pike on floor named after me. So in gymnastics, at least at that time, in order to get a skill named after you, you had to be the first person to do it at Worlds or Olympics.
Okay.
And so the front double pike on floor had been competed by men, but not by women. And so I'd been competing it since 2011, and it was still not in the code of points. And so every time I went to compete it, my coaches had to submit it to get evaluation. Oh, wow. And it was always a dream of mine because I'd been competing it by the time I made it to the World Championships. I'd been competing it for 4 years. And so it was always a dream of mine to get that skill named after me. And I had actually made it to World Championships in 2013, but then ended up being named the non-traveling alternate a couple days before the meet. And then 2014, I was having probably the best season of my career, but had an injury in May or June timeframe, and then just wasn't quite healthy enough to make the team. So I was non-traveling alternate in 2014. And so I just felt like I had some unfinished business after my freshman year. And I think if I didn't have that skill I wanted to get named after me, I might not have come back. But it was just like, it was such a big goal of mine. And so in 2015, I took that year off. I worked really hard. I ended up making the world championship team, and I did get put in lineup for floor. So I competed my front double pike during prelims. And after that, it will forever be known as the Dowell.
That's so
So
cool. Oh my gosh.
yeah. And so in college, always competed a front double tuck, which is the same pass, but your knees are bent.
Okay.
And so freshman, sophomore, junior year, I just competed the double front.
Mhm.
And then senior year, I knew my body a little bit more. The coaches could trust me as well. We had I don't want to say better relationship, but just being a senior, we knew each other. They knew they could
Yeah.
trust me. And, doing such a difficult skill, I couldn't do as many numbers.
Mhm.
Whereas like freshman year, that might have made them nervous. Senior year, they knew they could trust me, that like
Makes
I could
sense.
hit when it counted. And
Right.
so senior year, I started training it in the summer. And it came back pretty good. And so then I just figured I would do it until, if my body was too tired or I wasn't feeling it, I could always go back to the double front. But
Yeah.
I just really liked doing it. And I've always liked to do really cool, unique gymnastics. And so getting to debut that and compete that my senior year was really special, because there's not a lot of people that can say they competed their own skill at all,
Yes.
let alone in college gymnastics. So that's
super
definitely one
cool.
of my favorite parts of my senior year.
Absolutely. I don't blame you. I did not know that about you, so that's super cool.
Thank you.
I love that. I love that.
Being an alumni is really cool
Yeah.
now. I graduated in 2019. I'm still local to Norman, so I get to go to a
Okay.
lot of the gymnastics meets. I actually did get to go to NCAA's this year.
Oh, cool.
And so just being an alum is really cool, and just kind of watching what some of the previous alumni have built, and then I got to be a part of that, and then watching them continue to have all of the success is just, it's so
Absolutely.
special. And so like the girls now, it's just really fun to watch them, watching Jordan Bowers and Audrey Davis. And
Oh
it's just
gosh,
like,
incredible.
you have like a special place for all of these OU girls in your heart,
Yes.
because, we've all been through the same thing. We've all, done the same process of college gymnastics. And so it's just really exciting to see how far the program has come and where it's going to go in the future.
I agree. You've got like a unique sisterhood that not
Yeah.
many people understand what it's like to be a student athlete and all of that you talked about, and then just being an alumni and all of the accomplishments. Like there's not many people that can share that. So that's really cool. Thinking about the girls coming back next year, of course I know Jordan Bowers will be super missed, and Audrey, and I'm trying to remember who else is graduating, but I know Danae's coming back because she had an injury. So she'll be back. I love watching gymnastics, and I feel special. Thank you for giving me time, because I know you're busy, but I appreciate it, because I just think it's so cool to talk to you about your journey. And it may be behind you now as far as competition, but it's a big piece of who you are. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. Before I let you go, I always try to ask this question to people. What's your favorite sport to watch or play, depending, other than gymnastics, of course?
Ooh, so growing up, I always liked to watch football. Being from Kansas City, I was a big Chiefs fan. Kansas City is such a big sports town.
Yes, it
And
is.
something that like a lot of people don't realize around here is that like how big of a sports town Kansas City is. I grew up probably about 40 miles from Kansas City, and like even there, every Friday everyone's wearing red because it's Red Friday. Everyone's wearing red.
Yeah, okay.
And like I got to go to a Chiefs game whenever the Royals were in the World Series,
Uh-huh.
and the whole Chiefs stadium is chanting "Let's go Royals" because everyone is
awesome.
just so exciting. Like I think we were in the grocery store and a "Let's go Royals" chant broke out, and it
Oh
was
my
just like
gosh.
incredible to just be a part of that community. And so it was definitely a big tradition for us growing up. Like we would always watch the Chiefs games, and whether they were 2-14 or now they're doing a lot better. So,
Yes.
but we've been watching them since before, we drafted Patrick Mahomes and all of that.
Yes.
Always loved watching football. And that was definitely a big part of my childhood, and even now watching the games on Sundays.
Yeah, football is my first love for sure. It's obviously always been easily accessible, so that helps. And
Yeah.
softball, I love softball, and so it's the growth that sport has had and the accessibility that that it now has too is also nice. But like I said, I love watching the gymnastics, even the men's gymnastics when I can, like when they're available to watch. And I'm thankful for ESPN Plus and SEC
Right.
Plus, all of that,
Yeah.
because it makes all of that so much more accessible to people.
Yeah.
I love the technology, so I can follow even Twitter or X. I'm
Yeah.
always
That's
following.
the best one for following live events. There's
It totally
nothing like
is.
it.
I agree.
For sure.
I'm thankful for it.
I've got one other sport I've got to give a shout out to is
Yeah.
wrestling. So my husband was an
Okay.
OU wrestler. So I didn't really watch wrestling when I was in college, except for I think I came to his senior night. That's when we first started talking. But
Okay.
recently been watching wrestling a little bit more. He was a wrestler, so it's always fun to kind of have these multi-athlete households and
Oh
then,
my gosh,
go see like
yes.
the wrestling and the gymnastics together. So that's a fun experience too. Yeah, and he's got a really unique perspective. He was a wrestler, but also a mechanical engineering major.
Oh
So
wow.
balancing both of those things, I wanted to be an engineer when I first came to college, and they said, you can't do that. Like
Yeah.
being able to do that is definitely, an interesting perspective that he has. And then our like story of meeting up was really cool too because I had seen him at a rowing event,
Oh
and
yeah.
so he like had come up and talked to me because I had a friend and it was her senior night, and I went alone because I was like, well, I'm going to support her even if I don't
Uh-huh.
have anyone that wants to come.
Mm-hmm.
And so him and another one of the wrestling alums now came and they sat by me and talked to me. And then, we had seen each other around campus a few times after that. And then after the Beauty and the Beast meet,
Yes.
he started talking that night. And then
That's so
after that,
cool.
ended up together. Now we're married. So kind of a little OU athletics love story there.
I
So
love it. I love it.
yeah.
Thank you so much for giving me part of your evening. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to hear more of your story and share it with everybody. So I really appreciate you giving me your time.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. This was fun.
Hope you guys enjoyed both of those awesome interviews with McKenzie and Brenna. And I'm just so thankful that they took the time to sit down and chat with me and talk about our gymnastics program and what amazing athletes they were. And I'm so grateful that they are Sooners. And I have just a few Sooner headlines of the week to share with you this week as we head into fall training camp for our football team. Starts this week on the downhill, you guys. We are just tick-tocking away until football season. It will be here before we know it. In case you missed Paul Feinbaum's quote last week on the Darn Show on KREF, I just have to point it out super quickly because it was really hilarious. Totally unprompted, he just went after Lincoln Riley, who we refer to as Tebow, that be outwitzed on this show. Totally went off on him. He said, I can't think of anyone else whose coaching has been more fraudulent. I can't think of any other coach who's making that kind of money and doing less. So my dear friend Tyler McComas made a video about this. You can find that on his TikTok at Tyler McComas 32. Yeah, it was hilarious. If you haven't heard this, look it up. I have posted it all over my social media, so I encourage you to go and find it and listen to that clip, listen to Tyler's TikTok. It was comical, and I just had to point it out on here because we all have the same feelings about Tebow, and if you missed it, it's something that you're going to want to be aware of going forward. I just think it's hilarious is all. Okay, men's hockey schedule was released. They play at Arctic Edge in Edmond. Bedlam is on Thursday, 9/11. They play 9/12 in Tulsa, again, a Bedlam game, and also Bedlam on February 28th at the BOK Center in Tulsa. I am planning to be at Bedlam Hockey in Edmond on Thursday, 9/11. My friend Lauren Monticelli, whose two children play at OU, we have Peyton Monticelli, who's a pitcher on our softball team, and Nathan Monticelli, who is on the men's hockey team. I'm going to get out and go support them, so shout out to Lauren. And I gave her a note to let her know I'm going to be at that game. I'm hoping to meet up with Nathan and get him on the podcast this fall to talk about a little OU hockey. So that's something that you're not familiar with. We do have a men's and women's hockey club team. They are not varsity sports, but get out and support these kids nonetheless. They are putting in the work. Their schedule is out on social media now. If you'd like to go give them a follow, check out their schedule and see when you can get out to see them. But I am looking forward to Bedlam on the ice. Also for men and women's basketball, the Bedlam doubleheader was announced officially at Paycom in Oklahoma City on Saturday, December the 13th. Tickets go on sale on Ticketmaster. They are not through Soonersports.com, not through the OU ticket office. They are through Ticketmaster because the event is at Paycom and they go on sale this Friday, August 1st. You will not want to miss Bedlam basketball at Paycom. My hubby and I went last year. It was a lot of fun. This year it's going to be double the fun with a doubleheader men's and women's. Pretty pumped to have women's back on the slate. We have 8 Sooner men's gymnasts slated to compete at the U.S. Championships August 7th through 10th in New Orleans. So shout out to them. I'll be following along and give you a recap on them after they are done. Ignacio Yockers advanced to the all-around and pommel horse finals in the World University Games this past week. He helped Spain to a 5th place finish. He ended his all-around on Friday. He placed 9th, and then he placed 4th in the pommel horse final this past Saturday. For baseball, our 2026 shortstop, Cam Jackson, committed to OU baseball, and they are getting a huge defensive shortstop that can really hit from both sides of the plate on that one. So I was pretty excited to hear about that, Nab. Then for soccer, free admission to home games. That was just announced this past week. Their schedule is out. Their preseason starts next week. They play at TCU on August 5th and Dallas Trinity on August 9th. If you're in the DFW area, get out and support the OU soccer squad. Home opener on 8/14 and Bedlam is on Sunday 8/17. I will be there. Free admission. Soccer team, cannot go wrong in supporting them. And also with volleyball, preseason starts next week as well. So get out on social media, give them a follow, and pick a game to attend. I am hoping to attend one in early October. I have it on my calendar, so stay tuned. Okay, a few things I wanted to talk about softball this week. It's actually been a pretty busy week for the sport. If you don't know Peyton Monticelli, our pitcher that I also previously mentioned, it has been pitching overseas this summer, and she is killing it. I've been sharing a lot of updates on Peyton on my social media. If you don't give me a follow on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter/X, I'm at Sooner Girl Pod on all platforms. I post a lot of updates on Twitter and my stories on things like that that are important to share. And shout out to Peyton because, again, she is killing it. And I am so excited to visit with her and hopefully have her on the pod later this fall. But back here in the States for softball, it's been a pretty huge week. The AU League, as you know, there's been 4 teams competing this summer around the country. They had their championship this past weekend. And guess what? Sydney Romero, our former Sooner, and her team, the Talons, they won the championship courtesy of her home run, just like in the 2017 Natty when she did the same thing for our Sooner softball team. Just an incredible display of Sooner talent this summer. We had Sam Landry pitching. We had Tiare Jennings playing as well. Kalani Ricketts was also pitching in the AU League. And just an outstanding showing of our Sooner talent this summer. Until next month on August 23rd, there is an MLB Home Run Derby at the Chickasaw Ballpark in Bricktown. Calling all Sooners, join in supporting our current and former Sooner stars at the MLB Home Run Derby on August 23rd as they swing for the fences and get your tickets at a special Sooner price of only $15. Current and former OU softball stars will take on former MLB stars and Team USA softball sluggers at the Home Run Derby as they make a stop at the Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark in Oklahoma City. It will include Jocelyn Allo, Tiare Jennings, Kinsey Hansen, and then the Yankee squad is led by Nick Swisher, Ella Parker, Cassidy Pickering. The Dodgers team is Adrian Gonzalez, Jada Coleman, Sydney Romero, and a Rangers team that includes Reese Atwood and Amanda Lorenz. Don't miss your chance to see this incredible exhibition of power. Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark, Saturday, August 23rd. Special Sooner price. I would get on and check out those tickets. It sounds like a great time. You can find that on the Chickasaw Ballpark website. And last, but certainly not least, I want to give a final shout out of the summer for my sweet friends, Dr. Tina Floyd, the owner of the Oklahoma City Spark softball team, and Coach Amber Flores, the head coach, my sweet friend. Shout out to them for an amazing season. They've had an incredible roster, including a lot of those Sooners I just mentioned that will be at the Home Run Derby. They've also had Kelly Maxwell, Kelly Boone, Lena Torres, Lily Lee, some amazing sluggers this season, and they are currently sitting at an 18-4 record. They are playing their final game tonight. I'm recording this on Monday the 28th in the afternoon. They do have one more game tonight to close out their season at 7 p.m. But it's been so much fun. I got out to several games this season. They played at Oklahoma Christian University in Oklahoma City, and it was just so much fun getting out to watch them. And I just want to give them a shout out. First of all, thank you to them for being great supporters of the podcast. I did have both Coach Amber Flores and Dr. Tina Floyd on the podcast back in March to preview the Spark season. And so you might want to go back and listen to those if you missed them. But just a shout out to them for an amazing season that they've had, and to have all of that talent on a roster. You guys, please make note to go follow them on social media at OKC Spark and check out their schedule next season. I, of course, will be keeping you posted on my social media and on the podcast, but they always have a stacked roster. So many former Sooners, as well as Sydney Sherrill. She's from Oklahoma. She came back home from Florida State, back in the Sooner State. Michelle Moultrie, Rachel Becker, she's a former Poke. She's been playing with the Spark for a couple of years. Just always a great stacked roster that you're not going to want to miss. So again, just shout out to my friends, Dr. Tina and Amber, Coach Amber, for a fantastic, successful Spark season. And I can't believe that the summer's over, but I'm looking forward to next year. Okay, I'm going to end this week's podcast with the Sooner Fun Fact of the Week. At the 2023 NCAA Division I Outdoor Track and Field Championships, Pippi Lotta Enoch earned the national championship in the heptathlon, recording 6,163 points to establish an OU school record in the process. She was also the first Sooner ever to win that event. Shout out to Pippi. If you listen long enough, you've heard me talk about her name a lot on this podcast. She has accomplished a lot for herself and the university. And when my episode aired with head coach of track and field cross country, Coach James Thomas, that aired in early July, you'll go back and give it a listen. We also talk about Pippi and the awesome track and field program that we have at OU. So again, go give them a follow as well. Lots of amazing athletes. So I know this was a super long episode this week, and I appreciate you all for tuning in and listening. Thank you again so much for the overwhelming support. Again, go give me a follow on all social media. I'm at Sooner Girl Pod on literally every platform there is. Go get your merch, soonergirl.bigcartel.com. Tag me on social media or send me a photo. Get stocked up for the fall. Stock up on some tanks before summer's over. Go follow me on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Substack. Share with your friends, download, subscribe, all the things. Leave me a review. It truly helps more than you know. And if you would like to support the podcast by being a sponsor and advertising on the show, you can shoot me an email on social media, again, at Sooner Girl Pod on all platforms, or you can shoot me an email at SoonerGirlSportsPod@gmail.com. So you guys have a great week. Boomer Sooner, and I will see you next Wednesday where we talk sports.